harder. Given the number of London-produced and rehabilitated players that have moved on, we have shown the value of the side to the game. On the downside, I'm not sure that local support really improved by much, which is a longer-term concern.
Well, if you want to improve that, then stop playing games on the same day as the London Scholars. And Mark, we had one final view on this one.
Ali Poole said, hugely exceeded expectations, a great journey with some great wins, but ultimately not just not enough class or experience to see us through. It was a pleasure to see a team play with so much passion, though.
Yeah, I think they've been enjoyable to watch. They're definitely a valued part of Super League, and let's hope it's not too long before they're back and away again. Anyone got anything else to add on this?
I'd just say it was great that they went out of Super League in a good fashion compared to when they were last in Super League back in 2014.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Went down with a lot of pride and honour.
Exactly. I don't think they disgraced themselves and there's no one felt they wanted them to go down. It was just someone had to not have a chair when the music stopped. Speaking of the side that just managed to squeak their bottom just onto the last remaining chair, it was Hull KR.
Sorry, Tim.
Possibly me. Yeah. Who finished up in 11th. In terms of your predictions, you the listeners, you had them finishing in 10th. Alan, you had them up as high as 8th, and the rest of us all had them in on 9th. So in and around that bottom area, but not too bad. And it was just all a bit depressingly familiar from KR. Lots of players who didn't fire, some injuries that didn't help things, but ultimately there wasn't enough quality in that squad to really sustain Super League, and been bailed out by that late spending spree the year before, and kind of did the similar again that just kind of clubbed over the line. Tony Smith, is he the long-term coach that's going to rebuild things and put things in? I don't know. It kind of feels like he's possibly a sort of coach of the era before rather than this era, and so possibly someone who's not going to be able to do a job long term. But ultimately, looking at it, too many players were used, too many average performers in there, and signing the magnificent 500 or however many it is that we've got for next season. I mean, there's not. Like the number 71 bus, there's another one along in a minute.
And it's all full of new signings.
And it's all full of new signings, and who knows who's on there. And sadly, it looks like we're getting rid of the kind horse. But it's hard to be too cheerful about this because it was. Tim? Yeah, possibly like the first game.
The last 6 seconds of the first game was amazing for you.
Exactly, and then it was just downhill for the rest of the year, and there was very little to be too happy about. A few jagged wins here and there, but that's about it really. We had some fan views on this one. Who wants to go first?
I'll do Carson's, because I'm not sure if he will be a Hull KR fan next year, because we don't know where the kind horse, the German international, the man of his nation, is going to be next year, because it seems like he's one of the people who's kind of waiting in this Hull KR purgatory where is waiting to be picked up by someone else. But Karsten said, started good and got very bad in the middle and finished with a headache. And Andy Sanderson said, about what I expected, which is worse than what most of us expected, but not by much.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the side that went down a few years ago, they've not improved that dramatically, and they've not done much different to be able to improve on that. And it's just kind of just sticking plasters here, there, and everywhere. So maybe this big washout is going to do something, but who knows? Obviously, we'll all know about it about 3 weeks before it's announced anyway, if there's anyone else that gets signed. But There we go. We did have, of course, we had an interjection from Tom Andrews, and he gave us his thoughts here.
Hi there, this is Tom Andrews. If you don't know who I am, you obviously haven't listened to SLP in the last 18 months. Hull KR fan, news commentator extraordinaire. Just giving you a quick recap of Hull KR's season. Favourite few games, obviously we had round 1 when we lulled the black and whites into a false sense of security, then smashed their hopes and dreams with 6 seconds to go. Another one, Castleford at home, when I saw Danny Maguire do his probably best 90 seconds, 2 minutes of rugby in a Hull KR shirt, charging a drop goal down, kicking a 40-20, then just popping one over to send Fat Boy Robin to another hashtag rant. Some of the worst games, probably you'd expect me to say the derby away, but we have to let them have one, don't we? Or else they'll start crying. So I'd probably say Wakefield at home, second to last game of the season. Lost that one by a long, long way. Didn't look anything like winning it. Mood around the ground was, that's it, we're doomed. But being the dramatic team we are, we stayed up in the end. Some of the highlights of the players. He only played 10 games, but Adam Quinlan was brilliant. The signing I was confused as to why we got Wella Haraki. He shocked me. Ben Crooks, best player in the air in Super League, even better than Ratboy Jake Connor. Some of our worst players are probably all ones who have gone. Danny Addy was dreadful whenever he played. Josh Drinkwater got a lot of hate, but he wasn't as bad as people made out. He just wasn't as effective as he was at Catalans, and hopefully he'll do well when he's back at Catalans. Obviously Tim Sheen's left mid-season and returned to Hogwarts, which ironically is located in Widnes, apparently. But I thought that was the wrong decision at the time, but it turned out to be a good choice since we got Tony Smith in. Other than that, yeah, bit of a disappointing season, but we won about as much as 90% of the other teams, so it can't be that bad. So looking forward to next season with our 2,782 new signings. Hopefully it's a bit of an improvement and we're not fighting at the bottom again, but realistically I can't see anything but that again. But it's dramatic and we like drama in East Hull, so why not have that again? Just one more thing, thanks for listening to all the shit I spout on Super League pod over this season, and you can expect me not to stop that anytime soon and keep going all through next year too. See you later.
And so thanks for that, Tom. Anybody else got anything to add on a Hull KR season that I don't think they'll be making a mural about?
Job done, I suppose. I'd be a bit worried about them next year. To be frank, I think they're possibly the first name on the chopping block. I'd argue.
I think Sarah's excited, not worried about next year for Hull KR.
Yeah, possibly.
Right.
It would have been fun though if Salford could have sent them down. I mean, that would have been the pièce de résistance, wouldn't it?
Oh, especially if it'd been with a drop goal.
Because it was a drop goal game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I pulled one of the short straws. I've got Huddersfield. Now,
sorry, short straw. Try watching KR. Regular basis.
Well, not many people did try watching Huddersfield, but some did. So they finished 10th this year. Now, overall, that was worse than what we were generally expecting, maybe because they had a few signings coming at the start of the season. But the fans were closer than the rest of us were. The fans in general went 9th in their predictions, but Alan went 7th, I went 6th, Sarah went as high as 4th, and Tim thought 8th. I mean, I saw them start the season, and I did expect them to keep up with the good momentum Simon Wolford had finished the season before with, but it didn't look right. I mean, the signings they should have added a lot. The signings, I thought, they were not a good fit from the off. No win until week 5 when they were bottom of the table at that point. They never got higher than 8th all season, so they were always in that relegation race. Their fans maybe can look at the game time. Lots of their younger players played as a positive. I mean, with Matty English and Oliver Wilson, mid-season recruit from Bradford, they impressed up front. Matty Russell looks like a promising player in the halves, if they're ever going to give him a consistent run. Darnell McIntosh continues to show the potential that he's got, and some good young strike out wide that we already knew about. The Wardle, with Jake Wardle, the senior twins, they've got more Super League time under their belt now, but that only came because some of the more experienced and distinguished players were injured all year, or was too inconsistent with the performances. I mean, it never felt like this side, it never felt like a well-gelled unit. It came out with like generally poor displays. I mean, the best performers throughout the whole season would probably be called inconsistent. I mean, so many people during this Britain series have said, well, Jermaine McGilvery didn't have a good season. Well, actually, he scored 17 tries and averaged 120 odd metres a game. He wasn't any different to most other Jermaine McGilvery seasons, but the side was so poor that we never got to see him play, really, because no one wanted to watch this Huddersfield side play on television. But yeah, even like their best players like him we would say have inconsistent seasons. The rest were below the level you need to be at for Super League, really. On a positive, I'll give a positive to the Giants fans. I'll remind them of their only 3 good displays all season. Home to Hull KR in round 7, they put 50 points on them. The magic weekend thumping of Hull FC, sorry Sarah, but that was Huddersfield's finest hour this year. The round 21 away win over Salford. I think Salford and Huddersfield fans will have enjoyed that one, because for Salford it actually spurred them on their winning running that they went on. But for Huddersfield it was a good away win against a side that was playing well at the top of the table. One issue that they had this year, which I remember before the season we spoke to Mark, the Huddersfield fan, who I'm going to read out a view from in a minute. When I spoke to him, he thought they'd be fit. They'd be a lot fitter and more consistent with their ability to select players this year. Didn't happen. They used 35 players, which I think was the highest of any Super League side this year. So injuries were an issue, but form was also an issue, with players not deserving to keep their spots on so many occasions that the halfbacks were just, I don't know, it was almost like he threw a dart at the pictures of them each week, Wolford. Only Jerry and Darnell hit double figures in tries. They were the only consistent meter makers too. They were the real positives in that side. Mark, the Huddersfield fan who we hear from regularly, got in touch. He said, our biggest issue for years has been fitness, and I really thought we had sorted it out for 2019. We'd have a decent side actually playing instead of half our salary cap sitting out 90% of the season, and this would allow us to compete for silverware. And at least if that turned out to be wrong, it's not as if I came on the podcast and talked at length about exactly that. Yeah, the year did not go how Mark expected.
No, but we always forgive a bit of optimism from fans at the beginning of the year. It's expected, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's my take on Huddersfield. They were never consistently impressive at all. I don't know if any of you guys had any hot takes to add to the mix.
No. The only thing to say is that they did contribute to, you already mentioned it, one of my favourite moments of the podcast this year, how angry Sarah was with how they performed at Magic. Sorry, Sarah, but it was podcast gold, even though the performance wasn't.
I have no memory of this at all. Like, genuinely no memory of it.
Well, you've obviously blacked it out as a traumatic memory, but yeah, probably. But yeah, other than that, nothing to say about Huddersfield.
I'm glad I've given you a highlight, Alan.
More than Huddersfield did, really. But there you go. Right then, so if Huddersfield was a short straw, I don't think Wakefield was much longer, although they did finish above them in the table in 9th. Fans were a bit more optimistic, had them finishing 7th. I wasn't. I had them 10th, and we had them, other than that, mid-table pegged really. Mark 8th, Sarah 6th, and Tim in 7th. As I said, I was probably the most pessimistic, and I think it had some reason, particularly after the first round defeat at London. I've got to say this felt like it was a return to the old days for Tren. kind of after years of overperforming, it felt like they'd fallen back into the relegation battle. 2 defeats to London. You've got to look back at that as being very disappointing.